my name is Emma and today I am talking about Shadowhunters episode 4. Now, I am pleasantly surprised with this episode. The first 3 episodes, I hated every single one of them, and episode 4 was kind of more enjoyable. I just thought there was definitely a significant improvement from the last episode, which really isn't saying much because episode 3 was horrific. But I totally saw an improvement in the script and an improvement in the acting and an improvement in the scene structure. I'm not saying that this show is absolutely phenomenal now because it's not by any means, but in between episode 3, or like the first 3 episodes and then episode 4, there was definitely an improvement. I find it really sad how like we're all like so shocked that like episode 4 was so much better. We shouldn't be shocked. Like, all the episodes should just be good as it is, like as a TV show itself. You know what I mean? We did get some lines from the actual books that I picked up on. I don't know how many other people picked up on it, but there were definitely some concrete lines from the book, so that made me happier. There also were some detrimental things that happened that I don't even want to talk about because I'm so disappointed with. But for the most part, I thought the episode definitely was better than the last 3, and I'm way more hopeful now just seeing the improvement in that episode. That's all I can really say about non-spoiler stuff, but I have a lot of spoilery things to say, so if you haven't watched Shadowhunters episode 4 yet, go watch it and then come back and we can discuss it. But that's it for the non-spoiler section, so bye non-spoiler people! So one little tiny issue I had with the first scene is when Clary wakes up and she sees Jace, and then all of a sudden it's actually Simon and she was just like dreaming. I was kind of hoping that Simon would have picked up on the fact that she called him Jace. Like, I thought that would have been a really great scene for them to put in this love triangle that arises in City of Bones and City of Ashes. You know, like, even if we could just have seen some kind of reaction in Simon's face where he recognized it rather than just letting it go, I just thought that would have made that scene a lot better. But again, there's just things about the show that have a lot of potential that just don't follow through. Let's also talk about this shockingly hot vampire thing. I'm sorry, what? I can't tell if Simon is like still under the compulsion or if they're trying to like foreshadow into Camille being Simon's sire, but I just felt that it was very out of place and it wasn't something that Simon would have normally said, so like that line just made me very uncomfortable. Clary walking in on Jace working out shirtless, I understand it was supposed to be like hot and awkwardly funny because Clary was like, whoa, this super hot dude is in front of me shirtless, but it was just awkward. Like, it wasn't funny awkward. I thought Alberto's acting in that scene where Jace and Simon are like coming at each other was fantastic. Like, come at me, bro. And then when he's talking about how Jace is like the bully that made fun of Simon, he's like, why don't you just do your own homework for once? Oh my god, it was so iconic. I feel like Kat's acting also improved in this scene. You know, there's some real emotion from her. I feel like she does these emotional scenes very well, like when her mom was missing and she was crying in her apartment, and then now when she's like upset with Simon because she doesn't want him to leave. I feel that just for seeing more of her acting in it as opposed to when she's given all the cheesy lines in the Jace scenes. I feel that Clary and Simon's relationship in the show is the most believable out of every relationship, and so I'm getting more happy with that. One problem I have with this show that's really bothering me is that the runes are so inconsistent. Like, what happened to that whole ordeal in the pilot that we all got upset about, where like they took the steel and like the rune appeared and then they made it disappear and it was like a glamour, and that didn't happen again since the pilot. The inconsistency just shows me that the production of the show is really carelessly done. Is anyone else upset about that? Because it really upsets me. Like, pick one. I was so happy that they brought in Izzy's necklace, but they kept in the actual story, which is shocking to me. And realistically, this is an adaptation. It really shouldn't shock me so much that they kept in something from the books, but you know, they're not doing anything similar to the books, so of course I'm gonna be surprised when they do something right. Okay, so now we get to the scene in Chernobyl where Valentine is there and there's this weird invisible person spying on him and then he kills them. Some people told me that it was a member of the Clave that was spying on Valentine, which, first of all, if they were spying on Valentine, why don't they fucking kill Valentine if they know where he is? And then apparently it's a Seelie. Also, why are the Seelies spying on Valentine? Like, what does that play into the plot? I don't get it. The CGI was horrific. Oh my god, like those weird just eyes just staring there, and then, oh, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm getting nauseous. And now I'm going to be talking about City of Ashes. I'm kind of going to be talking about other books because they've been mashing in a lot of other books into this first season. So when I'm going to be spoiling a book, the cover is going to pop up somewhere on the screen. So until the cover goes away, you might want to mute it if you haven't read that book. So for this plot line with the Seelie blood, are they already introducing Valentine's whole ordeal in City of Ashes when he's killing like the teenage downworlders to make the mortal sword like infernal? Why are they introducing this? We don't need all of these different plots put into the first season. It just makes no sense. They're milking the shit out of this Mortal Cup thing. Why can't we go with that? Why do we have to bring in book 2 already? I don't get it. I don't know, but the whole Seelie blood might be interesting. Definitely made me think of the plot of City of Ashes, so I don't know if they're going to be introducing it, but I really hope they don't. Now, a lot of people have been complaining about Clary and Isabel's relationship because in City of Bones, they're kind of at odds with each other. Isabel isn't very warm towards Clary like she's in the show, and even Clary kind of steps back from Isabel because she's never really had a girlfriend before. And so in the show, they're clearly better friends, and like this friendship is growing like really early. And originally I had a problem with it because it's not consistent with the books, but I'm kind of liking their relationship. I'm just enjoying seeing it because I love their relationship so much at the end of the series when they are very close friends. And so I'm not as upset about the fact that they're cutting out all of the like kind of problems that Clary and Isabel have in the first few books. I really think it has the potential to develop into a really nice dynamic between their characters, and while it's inconsistent with the books, I'm really liking that change. Given I do wish we saw more of like the cold, vulnerable Izzy that we get in the books, but I'm just hoping that it's going to come into play later when the reasons behind that are revealed. If they reveal them, oh my god, so many possibilities of things are gonna mess up. So here we have the first official line from the books. I might be wrong, they might have included something else from the books before, that's an exact quote, but I'm pretty sure this is the first one. Now I see a lot of people complaining that Isabel called Clary flat-chested. When Clary and Isabel are getting ready for Magnus's party and Isabel is giving Clary clothes to wear because she can't wear her mundane clothes, Isabel legitimately says, "You're lucky you're so flat-chested, I could never wear that without a bra." And I'm so happy they kept in a line. Like, I feel so much more hopeful for some actual Cassandra Clare dialogue coming here. But let me just reiterate the fact that the first line they include from the books is about Isabel's chest. Can we stop pretending like she isn't over-sexualized? There are a ton of great Izzy lines in just City of Bones alone, and we decided to put in the one where she's talking about her tits. Can we please just stop pretending like this isn't a thing that's happening? Because we need to address it. Okay, so while I said that there were a lot of better lines, I feel like I've been talking a lot about negative lines. And I have another negative line to talk about. This whole things might get sticky thing. That would have been such a great Jace and Clary scene. That would have been such a perfect moment to play into that whole Clary being so stubborn thing and Jace not wanting Clary to get into trouble. So we start off with that terrible line, and I'm expecting them to make Clary be like, "You're not the boss of me, like I can do what I want," and she just kind of like meekly steps back. I don't even think she responds to it. It was another scene of Clace that could have pictured the relationship so perfectly, and they didn't do it. I don't know why they're out to destroy this whole ship, but I'm really having a problem with it because they're my OTP and the representation of them on television is so horrific. So as Magnus is introduced, and I'm going to be talking about Magnus a little bit later, we get another direct scene from the books. When Magnus says, "I was alive when the Dead Sea was just a lake that was feeling a little poorly." I love that line. It is such a Magnus line, but of course the television show messes it up. It was just so out of context. I don't remember exactly what book it was in or if it was in City of Bones, but the conversation that was going on had no place for that comment whatsoever. So Ellie says something along the lines of, "It's too dangerous for you to go out and meet with these Shadowhunters while Valentine is looking after you." And Magnus basically replies with, "I'm really old." Does that make sense at all? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. I was so happy that they kept it a line and they just didn't put it in context. I would be so happy if they continued putting in actual dialogue from the books, but I don't want it if it's gonna be out of context, because that scene was just a total letdown as soon as that happened. "Magnus, it's too dangerous, but I'm really old, I can handle it." So one thing I will admit is I'm much happier with Matthew Daddario in this episode. I feel like every episode I get a little bit more from him, and I'm really happy about that because he was one of the actors I was most disappointed with at the beginning. I feel like sometimes he gets the best dialogue. Like, his monologues about Clary and about this whole situation are so good in my opinion. I'm don't know. I feel like while Matthew Daddario doesn't have the facial expressions, a lot of the lines he gets are very Alec things that he would say, so I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, so back to City of Ashes. They're progressing this Simon is a vampire plotline way too quickly. There was so much development of that in the last episode, and it's still continuing onto this episode. Like, if they had maybe 1 or 2 scenes in each episode leading up to it, I'd be very happy about that, because that's what good foreshadowing is. You don't want to reveal exactly what's going to happen beforehand. For example, in the books, when we find out that Simon has gone to the Demort, which, hello, is in City of Ashes, it's a shock. He just like up and goes and nobody knows about it. And here we have scenes of Simon like fucking eating blood, and it's just awkward and it's obvious, and it totally takes away from all of that anticipation of finding out what would happen to Simon, because we know he's going to be a vampire. It's clearly very obvious. They just need to slow down on everything. There is nothing about this show where the pacing is correctly done. Everything is going way too fast. It's confusing, it doesn't make sense, and they're putting too much stuff into one season. I actually really enjoyed Magnus's party scene. Okay, I don't want to talk too much about the memory demon now, because I have a whole spiel about that later, but he fed them to a memory demon for safekeeping. I'm sorry, where is the logic in that? Magnus, your father is a demon. You know demons aren't trustworthy. Why would you do that? Look at how difficult it was to get it back. I didn't even get them back. And I'm not going to talk about this anymore because I'm going to go on about it later. But it was just stupid. It was a very stupid idea. But can we talk about how much of a tease that scene was, where Alec walks right past Magnus and Magnus notices him but Alec doesn't notice him? Oh my god, it was such a tease. We see Alec walking through and we're like, oh my god, it's a scene. They're going to meet. And then he just walks right past him and I'm like, what are you doing? See, moments like that are what I want from this show. I'm not asking for this to be in every scene. I just want some scenes that will make the readers, the people who love these books and who are avid readers of them, have scenes where they're just things that we know that are happening, even if it's not a clear-cut reference. They're kind of picking at something that we know is there and we all get so excited about it. Or even if they make a change like they did with that little Malik teaser and we're like, oh my god, like my feels. I want scenes like that, and this is the first scene in the entire series so far of 4 episodes where I have felt that kind of feeling, and none of that made sense whatsoever. But I just want scenes that evoke emotion in me and not laughter out of how pathetic it is and not cringing out of how terrible it is. Is that too much to ask for? Okay, so now I want to talk about Magnus because this is really the first time we've actually seen him. And I'm not so happy with him. Oh my god, I can hear all of the unsubscribe buttons clicking away across the world right now. I just feel that the personality that Harry is putting out is very fake. I feel like it's an actor who is trying to be Magnus, not Magnus. Like, it's very obvious that he is trying so hard to capture the essence that is Magnus Bane, and he's just trying too hard and it's just not working out for him. I just feel that he has this era of inauthenticity around him that's definitely different from the other actors, because while at the beginning, like, I was very like, this is ridiculous, this isn't any of these characters, Magnus has a lot of scenes, and the way that this character is written is pretty Magnus to me. It's just the delivery of the lines and the way that Harry acts and his facial expressions and his voices that just don't match up with his character for me. I feel like he does this thing where he like straightens up his shoulders and widens his eyes while he's talking, and it just feels very dramatic. And while Magnus is a very dramatic character, I don't see the correlation between the two characters at all, in my opinion. Don't hate me. To be fair, I didn't really like any of the actors at first, and now I'm warming up to them, so maybe I'll get more used to Harry as Magnus later. But as for first impressions, I'm very unimpressed. One line I really did love is when Alec and Jace are doing that whole parabatai tracking thing. That was very weird, which I don't really want to talk about. But I loved the line where Clary and Isabel are just standing out to the side of it, and Clary's like, this parabatai thing seems oddly intimate, and Isabel's like, you don't know the half of it. Like, that was such an Isabel line, and it was great foreshadowing, and I loved it. I loved that line. Now, the fight scene in Magnus's lair, or the warehouse, whatever it was pretty anticlimactic to me. I don't really understand what was going on. Like, there was just no context, really. You know, they enter Magnus's lair, and then someone falls from, like, a circle member killing them, and then there's this little girl who's, I guess it's her dad that fell, and then like the circle member comes. So I'm clearly very confused about like what was actually going on in this scene. And then we get to the actual fight bit, which could have probably saved it, but of course didn't. So Clary kicks the circle member, which again, what is with Clary having the superhuman strength when she still has the strength of a mundane? So Clary kicks him, and then Isabel whips him around, and then Jace throws a knife at him, and he dies. I just felt like there was no action. Like, it was like, oh, like, this is happening. Oh, it's already over. Oh, okay. One thing I really did like that I wasn't expecting them to ever include was that they mentioned spoils. For those of you who don't know or haven't really gotten this far in the books yet, spoils are when a Shadowhunter kills a Downworlder and takes something of theirs, whether it be, like, a Warlock's mark or, like, vampire fangs or like werewolf talons and fairy wings and stuff. Anything that is a piece of this Downworlder that they killed, they keep it, and anything that is that Downworlder's becomes theirs because they killed them. It was a big thing in the Infernal Devices, and it's still kind of relevant and mentioned every once in a while in the Mortal Instruments, but I never really expected them to mention it, and they did, and that was super cool to me. Like when that circle member is about to attack Magnus, and he's talking about how like he killed Elias and took his horns, and how like Magnus's eyes would make a great portion in his collection. I just really like that they included that. Little things like that make me very happy. Now, if we just had a lot of little things like that, I would be much happier with the show. Then we get to the Malik scene. I really liked how in their first interaction, they fight together, and it's not even like intentional. Like, Magnus is doing his thing, but then Alex shoots him with an arrow. Like, I just thought that was a really good contribution to the show and also to their first meeting. As for the actual meeting goes, oh my god, I don't even want to say this. I didn't like the way they met. I thought it was great that Alec was fumbling all over himself, because that's what Alec does for all of the books in front of Magnus. But again, there just wasn't so much emotion from Matt Daddario, and I thought it could have been really funny. Like, he could have been stumbling over his words and like confused and like trying to exit himself out of the situation because he felt so awkward because he's in front of like this gorgeous guy. You know, maybe he could have like tripped over himself as like they're going to find the other Shadowhunters, but it was just like, oh, they're this way, let's go, I'm gonna go that way. It just wasn't the level of intensity and the level of like cute awkwardness that like I wanted from the Malik first meeting. So I'm a little disappointed with that. Can we just talk about the stupid shrieking when Clary had a rune applied to her thing? This is what, Clary's 4th rune in like 5 days. She hasn't really yelped out in pain before, so why is it now? You know, I get if it's like a very strong rune, but they never really specified what that rune does. It's just bad explanation and inconsistencies. So now we're gonna talk about this memory demon section. I'm gonna have to cut off the people who haven't read City of Lost Souls yet, because I'm gonna be talking about City of Lost Souls. So we get to this whole memory demon situation where they're all ready to get Clary's memories back. So they get there, and the memory demons come in, and like Magnus is like translating whatever the dude's saying in the demonic language. And so the payment for Clary's memories is a memory of each of them with a loved one. I'm sorry, why are we taking a scene directly from City of Lost Souls and putting it in the pilot? That was such a great scene in City of Lost Souls. I had so much fun reading that scene, and now it's been terribly done in Shadowhunters Out of Place. I'm really frustrated that they did that. I thought there were just so many other better things that they could have done to the memory demon, and it was terribly done. Everything on that scene was so horrible, in my opinion. Jace was sucked up into the air, and it was just, oh my god, it looked so unbelievably bad. Clary's first demon that she ever kills is a greater demon, and she pokes at it with a Seraph blade after one lesson of learning how to use a Seraph blade. Where is the logic in these writers' minds? Where? Please show me. None of that scene made sense. It was totally out of context. It was horribly done. You know, I felt that they had a really strong root up into that, and then it just fell through. Also, I'm really upset about the fact that they marketed this entire episode around the fact that Magnus fed Clary's memories to a memory demon, and it didn't happen until the last 10 minutes of the show. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, like, when is this memory demon thing gonna come on? Did they accidentally put the wrong promo for the wrong episode up last week? Like, that could have been a good scene. If they had put more time and effort into it, I might have been okay with the change, but it's the fact that it was rushed and it was really badly done. We get another line from the books, which I'm pretty sure is in City of Ashes, but I'm gonna just hold on to the fact that they're actually including dialogue from the books, is when Magnus says, does he normally lie on the floor like that? And that was another scene that was great in City of Ashes. That line was so wonderful, and they've used it up way too early. I mean, I'm not terribly upset that they included it now. It's just, I just wish they kept scenes like that, where like that line was so core in that scene for me. I loved that freaking line. But it was taken, it was put out of place, and because I don't like Harry's acting, I don't think it was delivered as well as Magnus should have delivered it. I'm disappointed. And so then we move on to like the very end of the episode, which of course takes place in like 30 seconds. Simon's outside of the Hotel de Mort, and Camille's just like casually standing there, like giving him flirty eyes, and it was just weird. And like we know what's gonna happen next episode. Someone's car alarm is going off. I'm gonna die. Fix yourself! The last thing I want to talk about is something that I don't understand whatsoever. So Claire's back at the Institute. I think she's like getting ready for bed or something, and she just casually touches this weird ass stone necklace her mother gives to her. One thing I don't understand about this necklace is why is Clary seeing it from that perspective that's like on the outside? Like, where is that connection coming from? Because realistically to me, I would think that she would be seeing it from like Jocelyn's perspective. Like I've kind of gathered that this purple necklace is kind of like a connection to Jocelyn, so Claire can find out like where she is and what's happening around her. But wouldn't it make more sense if it was like coming from Jocelyn instead of standing on the outside where there's like no way for her to see from that perspective? Am I making sense? Secondly, Valentine knows that she's there and is talking to her. It was weird. I just don't understand how he knows where she is and that she's currently watching them. Like, okay, that sounds fake, but okay. And then at the end, he's just yelling, "I want my cup," and all I can see is Jonathan Rhys Meyers from the City Bones movie, like, slamming his fist down on the table, like, "Give me my cup! I want my cup!" And why do they just always have to include these like weird scenes that make no sense? That made absolutely no sense. You cannot possibly tell me that that made sense. That's really all I had to say on Shadowhunters. I feel like, again, I had positive things to say, but like just the negative things just overtook that. I'm just so more passionate about the problems that they have. Like, yeah, the script improved and the acting improved and like the sets improved and the scenes improved. I just have so much more to say on the changes because they're so bad and the improvements aren't that good. It was definitely better than the last 3 episodes. I'm definitely more hopeful. But I just definitely think they still have some significant problems that they need to fix if they want the show to be successful. That is it for my thoughts on Shadowhunters episode 4. I would love to know what you guys think. Discussing this with you guys in the comments of my videos are always my absolute favorite thing about doing these Shadowhunters videos. So please let me know what you guys think. How are you feeling going into next week? What did you think about last week? Tell me anything that you're thinking about Shadowhunters because I would love to know. And that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!